One of the best ways to develop yourself is to train martial arts. Now, for those that train martial arts, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're someone that's considering it, maybe you're not really sure if it's the right activity for you, I'm gonna tell you this, okay? If you go to a good gym, whether that be a boxing gym, MMA gym, Muay Thai gym, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, typically combat sports, you're gonna run into a lot of encounters with your ego and growing in humility, right? And I really believe that. To give you guys a quick story, when I first started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu about, like 7 years ago now, the first person I rolled with was a girl, and she was smaller than me, and I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm bigger than her, so she probably can't choke me out, right? And she did it like really fast. And my next humbling experience was doing Muay Thai for the first time, because I came from a Taekwondo background. I had competed a lot. I thought like, okay, I was a fourth degree black belt, that's considered a master. So I was like, okay, I can probably handle myself. And I just constantly got leg kicked, got swept, didn't know how to deal with punches to the face, because most Taekwondo styles don't deal with that, at least at a full pace, at an intensity where it's not scoring points. I would say the majority of Taekwondo schools don't train that way. And I got humbled in that way too. And I had friends of mine and people I know who also went to these classes with me. And unfortunately, they didn't continue and they didn't want to keep going. Whereas for me and some of my other friends, we were like, wow, this is so incredible. This martial art where, it turns out the person I was rolling with, only trained for like 3 months. And she had a bunch of skill already in 3 months. And in Muay Thai, right, I just found like, okay, there's all these different combinations that I've never seen before, and this pressure that I've never experienced. And I thought to myself, wow, this is a really awesome style, because I can see the development of the growth. I can see people who started at the beginning and where they ended up, right? And a lot of the coaches would tell me that. They would say like, this is like a, quote unquote rags to riches when it comes to training martial arts. And it's very evident. And I've also had really like a bad experience where I talked to someone who has trained Taekwondo or karate for a very long time, and they feel like their experience in that martial art didn't really prepare them well for some of the combat sports. And it's not really their fault, because I think a lot of people make this misconception. They think that, mixed martial arts, it's essentially all martial arts. But the reality is that the dominant styles are going to be boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and wrestling. Like, those are the 4 styles, right, that dominate the sport. And the reason for that is because they're the styles that are closely resembled to full contact fighting. You look at something like Taekwondo or karate, and of course there's different offshoots of it, but a regular day, everyday person's experience is that they're going to spend a lot of time doing forms. They're going to spend a lot of time doing kata or pumse, and they're going to probably not be applying that same level of pressure that you find in those combat sports, right? So one of the things that I've noticed, is 2 different kind of approaches. Some people's egos get crushed, which is a good thing, and then they rise up from it. And then they gain this newfound confidence, because now it's more real, right? It's more practical. It's more, I've been through the grind and I know how to overcome it. And then there's some people whose egos are so fragile that they get crushed, and then they don't want to go into that again, because they think, man, this is going to make me feel worse and feel crappy about myself. And I've been there. There's been times where I've trained, especially in the beginning, where I just felt like I was making no progress. I felt like I was going nowhere, until suddenly, my plateau started to go up. And that was because I stuck with it, and I pushed through it. And I took training in a different approach, right? I think a lot of people take training as, what am I going to get out of this right now? Instead of thinking, what am I going to get out of this right now? Or even maybe like a month, think, what am I getting out of this in a year? Right? I guarantee you this, and this is something I tell my students all the time. It's like, look, I never see anyone get worse being consistent. It's never happened. If you consistently show up training, even on days you don't feel like it, especially on days when you don't feel like it, right? There's a saying that, sometimes you're the hammer and most of the time you're the nail. Meaning, most of the time when you train, especially combat sports, you're gonna feel like a nail. Like, people are gonna just nail you, basically. And then there's some days you're gonna feel like the hammer, where you're just picking people apart, things are clicking, things are working. And, those days are great, but you can't be attached to them, right? And I think there's this kind of negative aspect that people have to good training sessions, that they think, I gotta repeat that process every day. And, it's kind of same with life as well, right? If you think about it, if you always kind of try to reach for that perfect day every single day, it's gonna stress you out. and you're not going to be able to accept what's been given to you, right? And in my opinion, if you are in the position you're in, it's because God put you there, right? Whether you believe in God or not, he puts you in this situation. You know, you can call it the universe, whatever. You get put in this situation, and what you do with that situation is what matters. It's not thinking about how can I go back to the past, right? There's a saying by Jesus. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to believe in Jesus to agree that this is a true saying. That, and he says this. He says, no one who is fit for the kingdom of God takes their plow and then looks behind them. Right? Now, back in those times, you know, when you were plowing a field, you had to be very careful. You have to push and you have to look straight ahead. You couldn't look back. And what Jesus is saying in this lesson, again, you don't have to be believer, but you can take this as a really good lesson, is that if you look back, what happens to your plow? Well, it starts to turn, it starts to go off course, right? So when we're training, we don't want to, you know, be looking back at like, okay, I was so good back then. Because I'll tell you what, you guys, as someone who's getting older, right? I'm almost 30 now. I know for some of you guys that might be considered very young, right? You know, but you know, my hips aren't the way they used to be. I'm not able to kick as hard as I could, you know, in the past. I can't, you know, wrestle with the 18 and 19-year-olds that I used to, right? I couldn't do that. So, but if I focus on the good old days and I don't think about what's ahead of me, then I'm gonna live a pretty miserable life, right? And it's gonna be, you know, hard, and you got to let go of those things. And you know, if you're training combat sports, you got to have this mindset of always looking to the next day as a next opportunity to get better. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want me to coach you one-on-one, I do offer online coaching specifically for helping you improve your kicking dexterity, your kicking power. You know, if you have any trouble with maybe nutrition, things like that, I'm an online coach. You guys can book a call with me down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Vivo Cristo Rey. God bless you guys. See you later.